The nature of character development tends to boil down to a few standout elements, a recurrent recipe that seems consistent throughout fiction. The trials the characters must endure, their transformation amidst finding themselves in situations much greater than their personal foibles, but for all, some arc shall emerge, causing characters to traverse through alien lands, taking them from wherever their standpoint may have been and leaving them in a new location where they remain perpetually. For the last time we see a character is how they are moralized in the mind of the viewer. A recency bias is in effect, as the last time you see a person is truly who they are, and sometimes who they always have been. But how does characterization occur in those that are difficult to forgive, and those that have become utterly corrupted? By painting the totality of their pictures, is it possible to offer them some redemption? In Monster, there is a key ongoing thread that is much more abstract and some would say more meaningful than figuring out Johan's backstory or seeing if Tenma will ever be a free man. It's about our protagonist's inner struggle to keep believing that there is good out there when everything he's experiencing seems to indicate the opposite. Humans are aware that their views are capable of changing easily, because ideology is a funny thing. It is so susceptible to being influenced, and it becomes stronger as it is changed. There is no perfect philosophy. However, humans tend to be more repulsed by the possibility of learning from others, because it hints at the idea that we have been misled all along and are wrong. Ideas can flip on a dime, and due to that, individuals that seem entirely opposing may not be all that different from one another. And that is what we see in Monster, between the kind-hearted, honest Tenma and the mysterious, charming blonde. Johan, in my opinion, is the greatest example of what an antagonist is. Johan, who is built as a very devious, secretive and mysterious individual to make him look like nothing we've seen before in reality. His dream is to see the world burn and for him to be there when it all goes down. Monster was never about seeing the world come to an end or seeing society fall as we know it by other stories. It was about the impact that a single person can have on society and on individuals. The idea itself of Johan is that he's not just killing people randomly or holding a grudge on someone, yet he also doesn't plan on obtaining something. Johan, unlike the Joker, is not a product of society's intricacies and injustices that aims to make it collapse intentionally. Is a result of his environment that represents the darkness of society that lurks in the shadows, the evil that we can't see. It was never about what he did, but about who he could become and how he went about it. As an antagonist, we never understand or see what he does fully, which I believe is one of the greatest portrayals of a foil character in fiction. His good looks, sociopathic behavior, and ability to control anyone are the aspects that made him so much more, and what it all came down to it in the end. Because it's not about killing the individual, but destroying the idea, the part of society that is great, that it takes over everything else. That is why Dr. Tenma struggled with his decision on killing him. Anyone that was in that position, who knew exactly the person they are aiming to kill, even though you know it's pure evil and it's your ultimate goal, you would still hesitate like Tenma did. Tenma is not staring at Johan Liebert. He's not staring at a single individual, but at the what if, what society can produce. Tenma himself came so close to give in to the nihilism that Johan embodies, so he understands to some extent how he came to this position and how he sees things. No rich person can understand what the poor go through unless he's in their position, and once he's there, he will come to understand how it feels like. In the psychological thriller that is Monster, the characters are put through various situations to the level they started to understand others and things they might have never thought of. And as I said, that's what the idea behind Johan is: evil in the cloud. That is why Monster works perfectly. It's a Hegelian dialectic in a way, with Tenma being the thesis of the inherent good in people, while Johan rises to become the antithesis of evil and nihilism. As both men come to clash, they come to a synthesis, where Tenma learns that nihilism and misery are just as much a part of people as compassion is, and that holding on to love and purpose are what can help this side to grow, whereas Johan learns to move past the overwhelming despair as to move forward in life. Even though one could say Tenma won, both men are changed in the conflict by others' viewpoints. Humans are easily changed by their surroundings and their ideologies are easily influenced. But what if the character in question is not a product of an action? What if he's not someone that was changed by environment or people? What if it's someone with power and with time in a direction that he believes is correct? He starts to sway from it, to get drunk on the power, and hides behind the idea of evil and the greater good of his actions. Through the protagonist's shoes, we get to see how a normal human being can turn into a monster. After obtaining a supernatural object that makes him able to kill any human he wishes to kill, with only easy to obtain requirements, Yagami Light starts to, in his own words, clean the world from evil. In his mind, if we were to kill all the bad people we know of, no more evil would rise, because once he killed the ones that are already existing, no others will appear, due to the fear that a certain someone will be able to kill them if they did, way outside of society's judgment and outside of the government's reach. While it might sound noble of him to take this role, even though it neglects all moral judgment in human rights and nature, he starts to get further from that idea once he is challenged by individuals that oppose his actions and understanding to such concepts. Light starts to get away not just from his family, from his core beliefs, but from himself. The idea of bringing justice becomes something irrelevant to him, because he now cares more about his power being taken from him and getting caught. In addition to his actions that were already immoral and to some extent evil, he kills and uses innocent people for no reason more than his own sake. Now, unlike before, he doesn't bother justifying his actions. Not just that, but he starts to commit crimes that are unnecessary and unjustifiable. In Death Note, power and dominance are a core theme. From Light and L's long rivalry to Mello and his inferiority complex, everyone in this story seems to be in some way or another changed to the human natural tendency of hierarchy and proving one's power. But unlike most of these characters, Light has a cheat code. He has the Death Note, so imagine what he must feel like compared to us normal humans who find immeasurable pleasure in being superior, confident, and feeling power. It is not so hard to imagine what dictatorship must feel like. Simply put, it's the ability to do way more than most people are capable of through power. While normally it is just a natural tendency, too much of it can lead to change and evil in a way. This entire idea is illustrated in Light's biggest moment of triumph, captured in the Death Note rewrite film.
どうだ、エル、完全に僕の勝ちだ。僕の
This is telling from Light. The moment where he finally claims victory, shove it in L's face and literally mock his grave. It's carnality at its purest, an almost sexual release and the most extreme communication of this theme in the story, but not the only one. In his last moments, L dies at the sight of Light, smiling in a similar manner, leaving the world with the confirmation that he was right all along, but also with his failure. Logically speaking, it's more than enough that Light killed him. Anything more than that is not about getting caught, or who's right or wrong. He repeats the laugh when thinking he won against Nia, failing to realize that he was trapped to reveal himself, and he did, only to realize moments after that he was defeated, going insane and hopelessly escaping and meeting his death by the hands of the one that was the cause of it all. Now to an even more destructive example of how terrifying humans can get. When actions turn inhuman and all sanity is lost, but with love and compassion still existing. In Made in Abyss, the glorious scientist and Delver Bondrewd the novel, a man known for his contributions to science and that is looked up to, is soon revealed to us and the protagonist as an inhuman person who horribly experiments on orphans and uses every means necessary to fulfill his goals. An inhuman person, literally, because through using the Zoaholic to gain supernatural attributes and technically obtaining immortality, he lost all sense of humanity. But more terrifying than who he is and why he does it is the way he sees it and feels about it, the way he loves and cares about the children and how he is proud and loving to them, is what sets him apart from being a cold-blooded evil individual and what he really is. What he really is being a tragic, truly scary monster created by the Abyss itself. He is the extreme of what Rico's goal can lead to. The Abyss is known for changing people, and the deeper you go and the more time you spend in it, the more desperate and monstrous you become. That only puts more mystery on the other white whistles that we haven't seen yet, and who are even deeper, and especially the one who is at the bottom, Liza the Annihilator. There is a genuine emotional core to Bondrewd, which only makes what he does all the more heartbreaking. He loves the kids, and that is perfectly shown in his relationship with Pushka. He truly loves her, and how he sees Nanachi and Drake with joy and pride. The dichotomy of his character can best be summed up by this panel toward the end of Volume 5. After the children manage to weaken him enough to move forward, this leaves us to wonder, is this a man who has been blessed with redemption and who has seen the error of his ways, or is this a man cursed by his own ambition, forever trapped by the choices he made? The duality of a mad scientist and a loving father adds layers of complex and nuance to Bondrewd's character that makes us dig deep to try and fully understand him and why he does the things he does. This acts as a dark reflection of the stories and characters to force us to reconsider the world we had grown so attached to, and whose impact on the story and characters is tangible. He shows that a great villain isn't just a contrasting obstacle for the protagonist to overcome, but should act as a deeply complex and morbidly fascinating reminder of all the parts of ourselves in the world around us that we would rather keep behind closed doors or under a mask. The true evil of humans when pushed to its limits. What is it that makes a character evil? Is it the choices that moves them further from virtue? Or is it the world they are born in? Is it the influence of power or literally supernatural change? It's all of that and more. As I previously said, humans are so easily changed, and the dark side they hold within is truly terrifying. When explored and uncovered, monsters are born. If this video does well, I will consider making a part 2 or even turning it into a series. So tell me down below if you want to see that and what evil characters and villain you would like to see featured. Many thanks for watching.